Welcome to another episode of YouTube where we're discussing inherent dominance. We will take some time to talk a little bit about the current situation, but want to do a little bit of a review of wolf behavior. And this is Aidan and Denali at 16 days of age, and reminding people that wolves have an inherent nature to be dominant. That starts, as you can see here, as young as 16 days of age. They're barely mobile, yet Denali is trying to assert dominance by scruff biting and grabbing and trying to roll Aidan over. And this is most likely a survival instinct. If you look at pup survival and the ability of pups to get enough food for themselves, being more dominant as a pup may mean the difference between getting food and not getting food. And so we see it starting very young. The other instinct that we deal with is Aidan's demonstrating here a little predatory behavior. About the same age, 16 days of age, he's showing a little bit of head shaking and grab biting on a stuffed toy here. That's predatory killing behavior. And so one of the things that we see is sometimes in dominance issues they get very excited, and excitement may trigger the predatory drive, and some of these dominance fights may turn much more intense because of that predatory behavior. That is the nature of wolves, and we do see, again, predatory bites, head-shaking bites, to be more damaging than just a scruff grab or a dominance rank order. So again, just want to remind people of what wolves do and what wolves are instinctually designed for, and that's what makes it a challenge in captivity. The other thing that's important to point out is historically, Shadow was the dominant male, and this is Shadow showing dominance as he's meeting Aidan and Denali face-to-face for the first time in 2008 when we actually introduced Aidan and Denali as 3-month-old pups. You can see Shadow being a very active, dominant male. Pinning the pups, showing threat displays, getting them to roll over, getting them to respond the way he wants them to respond as subordinates. You can see they go down, they roll over, their ears go flat back. They understand Shadow's dominance and they respond to it. And Shadow was a very active, dominant male. And he was dominant in this exhibit pack for 7.5 years, and he had a lot of opportunities to show his status. And so what complicates the matter right now is obviously we took Shadow out for his own physical health as he was reaching 10 years of age or turned 10 years of age. We started to see him aging and having some issues with keeping up with the pack. And we saw obviously Grizzer being put in a situation where he was going to be dominant even though he'd not been dominant in a situation. You can see here a short period of time that Grizzer did test Shadow, but overall Shadow maintained his dominance throughout the pack. Grizzer being subordinate, showing flat ear postures and being a subordinate posture. Again, Shadow was dominant. He reinforced his dominance extremely well. Grizzer never had an opportunity to really establish his role and be dominant because Shadow was such a dominant male influence. He did have an opportunity to redirect to Malik, and you see him following and showing some status over Malik, who was third ranking at the time. But Grizzer never really developed the respect as a dominant pack member. And part of that was his doing. When the pups came in, Grizzer was extremely docile with them, would lay down and let the pups climb on him, chew on him, and essentially showed no indication to those pups that he was more dominant or high ranking. And that created a scenario where as the pups grew, it's a standard practice for pups to mature to adults, and when they mature to adults they look for opportunities, and that's essentially what Denali did. Denali, again, watching, looking for weaknesses, trying to take advantage of Grizzer, and Grizzer doing nothing to stop it. And to the point where Denali did start testing quite a bit, and then essentially went into a challenge. And that's what really created all of this, was Denali challenging Grizzer for that top ranking position. Grizzer is learning. He's showing body postures. He's showing direct eye contact. He's trying to be more assertive, but at this time he was having some difficulty. That resulted in basically a situation where we did have some bite wounds on Grizzer that warranted stitches, and so on Saturday the 20th we took him out, drugged him, put Denali into a pack holding area for a few days. Got Grizzer stitched up and back in the pack within about 3 hours of the surgery, and held Denali for, as I said, 2 days to give Grizzer a little bit of time to heal. And what footage you're looking at here is the day that we put them back together. We didn't want to hold Denali too much longer, because the longer you're held, the more the pack isolates you. But we did need Grizzer to have a little bit of time for his stitches to kind of take. So what we did on the day we wanted to get them back together, rather than just letting Denali out in the main pack, we wanted to judge what was Grizzer's attitude and what was Denali's attitude towards Grizzer. And actually it was quite good. We see Grizzer a little aggressive and a little dominant, hightail, Maya in there with some dominance as well. But Denali's subordinate, and that's what we were looking for, and that's really what we were hoping in order to get them back together. You can see Grizzer's wounds are still pretty raw there. They are healing, but it's taken a little bit of time. We've got a lot of snow, and it's cold, and it's very hard to heal an animal in that situation. But basically this footage was taken today, which is the 26th of November, and you can see the pack is back together, doing a little bit of posturing, but overall Denali's right down in the front with Grizzer, right down in the front with Aidan, and things seems to be leveling off a little bit. As we said, Grizzer's head is still a little bit raw. We did have to shave up a portion of his hair to be able to get those stitches in. But his posture is good, his attitude is good, he's feeling pretty good. He's continuing on antibiotics until we can get that wound healed up, and hopefully we can settle this rank order that Grizzer and Maya are dominant, and then Denali's second ranking, and then Aidan's on the bottom. And we're hoping that that is going to be settled now. And we are seeing some really encouraging behavior, obviously, from Maya and Grizzer. Do see a lot of pair bonding. Maya reinforcing Grizzer's position, but here's Aidan also reinforcing Grizzer's position with a muzzle bite and approaching him and being very subordinate to him, which really helps the situation. That leaves Denali as kind of the isolated one, because Grizzer, Aidan, and Maya actually are together quite a bit. They were sleeping in the den on Thursday morning, Thanksgiving morning. When I came in, all three of them came out of the den together, so we know that that core of pack alliance is very strong, and you can see a little pair bonding behavior here of Maya walking shoulder to shoulder with Grizzer, both in a relaxed T2 dominant tail, and showing some good posturing there. So that's what's up. And in retirement, Shadow is starting to guard some of his meat. We have some deer legs and deer scraps that we fed in the last couple of days. He's still being supplementally fed, but at this point it does appear that he's back to eating some carcasses. The walking with the deer leg behavior, again, we're just pretty certain that that's a little bit of possessiveness, competition issues with Malik. He's not as obsessed about him, whereas a few weeks ago he walked around with one for 3 hours. Here in this clip he was just a couple of short travels around the pen with his deer leg and drops it in the snow and doesn't really have too much concern about it. And so we're always mindful of what those two are up to, and Malik is doing well. We didn't see any more sign of that abscess on his face. Just initially after the dose of antibiotics was completed, we saw one small scar, but have not seen anything since. Certainly if that abscess is returning, it's not progressing as fast as it did the first time. We are always using the surveillance cameras to be able to get an indication of what may be going on the other side of the world. We did get a second donation from Ann Raspberry and want to thank her for that. We did actually post that surveillance camera on the main pack, and so we do get a glimpse of them, but the main pack is so much bigger that we don't really get as much of a idea of what's going on unless we're watching the retirees. This is footage from the surveillance camera where see Malik already resting and Shadow coming up on top of the straw bed and trying to rest, and Malik gives him a little bit of lip curl, not wanting to be bothered, and Shadow seems to deal with that okay. So certainly those two are going to have a little bit of rank order issues as the winter approaches, but so far so good. Everything seems to be going well. So that's about it for right now. Thanks for watching.